What if the spiritual power meant to transform humanity was intentionally kept out of reach? What if religious institutions have, for centuries, hidden the real path to awakening? Tonight, we're going behind the veil into how religion, from early Christianity to modern institutions, obscure direct spiritual experiences in favor of control, dogma, and obedience. Brace yourself. By the end, you'll see why spiritual authority and your own power are not the same thing. Across ancient cultures, Egypt, Greece, India, mystics and shamans practiced rites of initiation. Teachings were handed only to worthy initiates, the path hidden from the ordinary masses. Mystical methods, songs, mantras, rites, were kept secret to preserve their potency. In early Christianity, this manifested as the disciplina arcani, a discipline of the secret, where certain teachings and sacraments were hidden even from new converts until they had been prepared. In other words, spiritual power wasn't a right, it was a privilege. Not everyone was allowed to awaken, only initiates. As religions formed institutions, control shifted. Mystical experiences, direct communion with the divine, were replaced by ritual, dogma, and hierarchy. In early Christianity, this meant quashing Gnostic traditions. Gnostics emphasized personal spiritual knowledge, direct communion with the divine, but their beliefs threatened institutional authority. Elaine Pagels chronicled this in the Gnostic Gospels, noting how the church branded these experiential traditions as heresy. St. Augustine famously drew a firm line between true miracles and pagan magic, designating any supernatural power outside church authority as demonic. And so, religious power became mediated through clergy, and spiritual access was funneled through doctrine, not direct experience. Religion didn't just control spiritual power, it demonized it when found outside sanctioned bounds. Mystical movements, folk healers, and pagan rites were labeled dangerous. The witch hunts were born of this fear. Magic was branded heretical. The Malleus Maleficarum became a guide to eradicate folk magic, midwives, and indigenous healers. Meanwhile, in Islam, mystics known as Sufis, who practiced ecstatic remembrance or dhikr, were persecuted, their shrines destroyed, their teachings dismissed by puritanical movements. Spiritual power, when it couldn't be controlled, was crushed. But humanity rarely lets truth die. Esoteric groups preserved mystical knowledge outside institutional control. These traditions often taught that all is mind, a core Hermetic principle, mirroring modern consciousness science. But even these groups were often elite enclaves, keeping access limited and knowledge cloaked in allegory. In modern times, religion no longer outright bans spiritual practice, but it reframes it. Spiritual practices, meditation, chanting, awe experiences are often stripped of context and ethics, commodified in the wellness industry. This McMindfulness loses depth. Practices become feel-good rituals, divorced from deeper ethical commitments. And worse, some use spirituality to bypass real healing or responsibility. Known as spiritual bypassing, and this defense mechanism can stunt emotional growth. So the true path to spiritual power, direct experience, and inner transformation is obscured, diluted, or replaced with a performance. But all is not lost. Across history and today, the path remains. Step 1. Recognize the historical concealment and refuse to let your spiritual authority remain outsourced. Step 2. Practice direct experience. Meditation, nature immersion, inner listening, not as an escape, but as a reclamation. Step 3. Pair experience with ethics. Spiritual awakening isn't about feeling good. It's about living with compassion and integrity. If this message strikes a chord, subscribe and ring the bell. Share your experience in the comments. Have you ever felt spiritual power outside organized religion? I'd love to hear your story. Our spiritual birthright was never meant to be hidden. It lives in every heart. You just need the courage to awaken it. Have you ever wondered why, despite billions of people following the religion for thousands of years, the world is still filled with suffering, division, and emptiness? If religion truly held the full key to spiritual power, wouldn't humanity have already awakened? The truth is, the real path to spiritual power was hidden, reshaped, and in some cases erased. And tonight, we go deeper. Across every major religion, there are hidden clues of higher knowledge, disguised and obscured. In Christianity, Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Yet, institutions built rituals that pointed worship outside of self, making you dependent on authority. In Hinduism, the Vedas speak of Atman, the inner self, one with Brahman. But rituals and dogma blurred this direct connection. In Islam, Sufi mystics taught, "He who knows himself knows his Lord." Yet mainstream views silence these voices, branding them heretical. Why? Because direct knowledge of the divine makes you free, and free people cannot be controlled. Let's uncover what was hidden. Practices that ignite spiritual power. Breathwork. Ancient yogis, early Christians, and Taoists all taught breath as a doorway to higher states of consciousness. Yet religion reduced it to silent prayer, stripping the body of its natural gateway. Chant and sound. Sacred sound, mantras, and vibration activate the nervous system and awaken higher states. But in many traditions, chanting was confined to priests, choirs, or restricted liturgy. Meditation and stillness. Mystics across all faiths knew that in silence, the mind dissolves and the soul expands. Yet instead of teaching meditation, religions emphasized memorization, repetition, and obedience. Sacred union. The ancients knew the masculine and feminine energies within us mirror cosmic creation. But religions often demonize sexuality, shaming the very energy that fuels spiritual awakening. All these practices were rebranded as either mystical, pagan, or forbidden. And by doing so, the keys of the kingdom were hidden in plain sight. Let's ask, who benefited from hiding the real path? The answer is simple: those in power. Kings, emperors, and religious leaders built entire empires on the belief that only they could interpret divine will. Fear of hell, promises of heaven, and guilt were woven into the psyche of billions. By convincing you that God is out there, in a temple, a church, or a book, they made you forget the God within you. This is why wars were fought, why heretics were burned, why sacred texts like the Gospel of Thomas or the Emerald Tablets were hidden away. If humanity awakened to its true divine power, the entire system of control would crumble overnight. So what can you do today to reclaim the real path? Go within, daily meditation and breathwork. Connect to the inner voice that religion told you to ignore. Decode the scriptures yourself. Read them with new eyes. When Jesus said you are God's, he meant it. Reclaim the body. Your body is not sinful. It is the temple where spirit meets matter. Seek direct experience. Taste the truth yourself through stillness, frequency, love, and conscious awareness. Once you experience it, no one can take it away from you. You are not separate from the divine. You never were. The path to spiritual power was hidden, yes, but only temporarily, because humanity is waking up again. And you, listening right now, are part of this awakening. You are not weak. You are not powerless. You are the very universe remembering itself through you. And now the choice is yours. Will you continue following the outer systems that keep you in fear? Or will you step into the fire of your own light and claim your true power? The world needs awakened beings now more than ever. If this message resonates, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe, comment below, and share this with someone ready to wake up. Together, we are building the future of a truly awakened humanity.